Dr. Vincent Price here again, professional writing consultant in the Writing and Speaking Studio on the campus of North Carolina Central University. This video is going to be walking you through how to properly cite your references in APA format. Okay, so it's going to get into some details. So if you look on one side, you'll see a list of references, right? Now, our first stop in this video is a warning. Warning, be very careful of using things that spit out the citations for you. Things like citation generators, Quillbot, Google Scholar, let's see, one more, a Grammarly. Any of those things that will automatically just spit out a citation, especially if you give it a URL. Be very careful about those because not everything will be correct. Now, Google Scholar, humans actually type that information in there, but they may have typed it incorrectly, and so the resulting citation is probably going to be incorrect as well. If you look to the left, APA, this is not. So the first one is off because the names are not supposed to be presented that way. Capitalization is not supposed to be presented that way as well. The second one, names are different. The capitalization is different, whereas the year is all the way at the end, so that's not APA. So you can go through, and many of these are incorrectly formatted in APA, so just be careful. You might say that your professor doesn't really care. They just require you to have the references at the end. But if you're going to spend time doing something, you might as well spend time doing it correctly, because you never know when that one person comes up and is going to be very meticulous and is going to mark off things like people like me, mark off what is wrong and will tell you how to fix it so you can then fix it the next time. Okay? So be very careful and start to be more mindful of what you're doing. So we're going to walk through how to do it. I tend to use one of two sources, and one is the APA style website. Okay, surely this is going to be the place to learn how to do APA, and the link will be in the video description. So reference examples, if you scroll down, you'll see the different types of references. So whether it's a journal article, a book, website, so on and so forth. So if you click that, it'll walk you through how it's supposed to look, even down to the parenthetical citation and in-text citation, which we'll come to in the next video. But my go-to website is Purdue OWL's APA website. It's matched up with 7. So between these two websites, there should be the same information. But you scroll on down, you'll have authors, and it breaks it down to also the types of sources that you'll use, articles and periodicals, and then you should be able to see the different things, the different examples, and how to actually structure it. Okay? So that's what I like to use. Now, I will say that if you go to the Purdue OWL website, they'll also give you the option of using the citation machine. Be very careful of that. As I said at the intro, sometimes that stuff is not going to be right. So just learn how to do it correctly. And speaking of which, that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to go over 3 main ones that you'll be using, 3 main styles that you'll be using for your references. Book, article, and website. The first 2 are the easiest ones. They're the preferred ones. The websites can get very messy very quickly. All right, so book, you start with the author's last name. You spell that out, spell it correctly. Then the author's first initial, if a middle name is provided, the first and middle initial will be included. Then the year that the book was published, the title of the book, italicized, and then the name of the publisher. Earlier editions of APA used to require more information, but we are with APA 7, which requires just that information. Now, if you happen to have multiple authors, then you'll have the first author's last name and initial, and then the second author, and you'll go in the order that they're presented in. You don't have to alphabetize that. So so let's look at an example. Let's see if I have one. Okay, so let's say that I'm writing a paper I'm writing something that's using Michelle Obama's book, The Light We Carry. Okay, she is one author. All right, so we're going to be using that first one. So let's see if I can add this to the bottom. So author's last name, Obama, comma, and then first initial, that's going to be M, period. And then I now need the year. If you're ever looking for the year for things on Amazon, just scroll on down to where you see all this information, the product details. So publication date 2022, we don't need November 15th, so 2022, close the parentheses, period. The title in italics. What is the title? The Light We Carry. Let me make sure I get that. Oh, and then there's an extra subtitle. So, all right, Michelle, get out of there. All right, so we have so for APA, you're going to have the first word capitalized, but the words after that will not, unless they have to be like a person's name. And then the first word after a colon is going to be capitalized, but the other words are not. Period. So that's the title. And then we have to italicize that. And then the publisher, you're looking for the publisher, look in the same place where you found the year, Crown. Crown is the publisher. So boom, 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 boom. And that is a correct citation. Nice. Oh, look how easy that was. Wasn't that easy? I believe it was. Okay. Let's imagine, if we imagine that there was another author, we would just change that, put a comma, put the ampersand, and then let's say that I co-wrote that book with her. Price V. So there we go. I am not taking credit for that book, though. All right, so let's move on. Article. So here is, with articles, we have a little bit more information to deal with. So we still start off with the basics. So author's last name and initial, first and middle, if you have the middle as well. Then the year, then the title of the article. And if it has a subtitle, include that, just like we did with Michelle Obama's book. So the title of the article and the subtitle of the article. So that's the single piece. That's the thing that we're actually pulling quotes from or paraphrasing. And then after that, we bring in the title of the journal. So People Magazine is a journal or a magazine, and then it has multiple articles inside. So we would put People Magazine here for a title of journal, for example. Notice that that is in italics, and then we have comma, the volume number, and the volume number is going to be in italics, and then parentheses, issue number, comma, and the page range, and then the DOI. The DOI is basically the URL. We click that, that's going to take us to the website, or we input that into Google, and it'll take us to the article. So let's see an example. Another Michelle Obama article. Let's see. Okay, so let's imagine that you are using this this database, and now you need everything you need is here. You can find that same information on the PDF, but if you're already here, it's good. You don't have to scroll or anything like that. So we're going to use the author's last name. Author's name is, look at this. Is it Newly Paul or Paul Newly? Let's see whether this thing has been, is the first name Newly? Let's check. Let's check the PDF. Oh, look at that. See, if we search in there, There are two authors. Somebody has been cut out. So we're actually going to be using this one with the two authors. So we're going to put that under there. So last name Paul, first initial N, comma, ampersand for the and then the last person is Perrault. Spell it correctly, E-A-U-L-T, and then G, period. Okay. If I wanted, I can just stay right here because I have everything that I need up in that top corner. So now we need the year that was published. That's 2018. Close parentheses, period. The title of the article. So let's see. It's a long title. Spell it correctly. The First Lady of Social Media, colon. After a colon, the first word is going to be capitalized, the, and then visual rhetoric of, let's see the rest, Michelle Obama's Twitter images. Now, Michelle Obama is a proper noun, so we will always capitalize proper nouns, person, thing. Obama's and Twitter is also a proper noun, images. Okay, so according to this, after we put the title, follow that by a period, and then the title of the journal. It says Atlantic Journal of Communication. It also says it right here for source, Atlantic Journal of Communication. So notice that the title of the journal, every word is going to be capitalized, except for prepositions. Atlantic Journal of Communication. Okay. Comma. Volume number. It says volume 26. We're not going to spell out the word volume. We're just going to put 26, then followed by the issue number. We're not going to spell out issue number. We're just going to put the number 3, as you can see there, number 3. Close it. Page range, ranging from 164 to 179. 164, 179. Period. And then the DOI. You see that link there? Let's see if I can grab it. I don't think I can. Let's see if I can go back and see it somewhere else. It'll be preferable if they're all together. So the DOI, sometimes you can leave them off, but it's preferred to include them. DOI.org/copy and paste that number in there. Now, when you copy and paste, you want to make sure that that format is the same. 12-point font. Usually when you copy and paste it from the internet, the color changes. So you want to make sure it's good. So that's Arial. That should be Nunito. And there you go. No period at the end. So the last thing is italicize the title of the journal and the volume number. And there you go. That's correct. And last but not least, the more complicated one, the website. Let's put it all on the same page here. So website. So sometimes websites have information, sometimes they don't. So if you do have the author's last name, you know who actually created this website or this web page, you'll lead with that, the year that it was published or last updated, and then the name of the web page, italicized, followed by the URL. If it's an organization that created it, like the U.S. Department of Education, then that's going to start it off, year, name of web page, URL. So it's going to look like this. So the United Negro College Fund organization, that's the year. Here's the name of the web page, and there is the URL. Okay, so take time to practice, take time to learn how to do it properly on your own without relying on the robots. Stay tuned for the next video talking about citations, putting those citations into your paragraph.